Bonjour les amis. This is Generator coming to you directly from the City of Light. I'm Jane Bertch, a Chicago native, Paris-based entrepreneur, author, and your partner in personal reinvention. I've spent the past 20 years living and working in Paris, and after leaving the corporate world and deciding to create something of my own, I've discovered both the beauty and the challenge of building a life shaped by curiosity, creativity, and a sprinkle of courage. These are the practices that lead to true transformation. So whether you're planting a seed in your Jardin secret, your secret garden, or giving voice to your creativity for the very first time, let's step into your next chapter with intention. And of course, with a touch of Parisian charm. So as we say in French, on y va, let's go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Generator. I'm so thrilled today to have Ajiri Aki here with me, somebody who I don't feel like needs an introduction. She is such a feature in the Paris landscape when it comes to inspiration and joy. And I particularly have a soft spot for Aj, as I call her, because this time 2 years ago, I don't know if you remember, Aj, we were sitting around your table having tea
Yes.
because my book was getting ready to come out.
Yes.
And you so kindly and sweetly reached out to me because it's hard to ask for help, but you knew what it was like to be an author. You need people to talk about it. And you invited me over to have tea and chat.
Absolutely.
But that's the kind of person Aj is. And beyond just being a wonderful inspiration, she's written 2 books now, and we'll talk about that. But nobody in Paris can float around as elegantly in a kaftan. For those who don't know your story, tell us, how did you get here to Paris?
I first came to Paris as a student. I was a grad student studying the decorative arts, and that program brought us here, and I was here for a summer. Then I went away and came back for more research for my thesis. And that was the first time I ever got to spend long bits of time in Paris. And then I tried to make a life here. It didn't work out. I was so sad. I gave up, went back to my life in New York City, and 9 months later met a Swiss German guy who lived in Paris. Started dating him long distance, got married, and moved back to Paris. And so now that has been 15 years
Wow.
that I live here with like proper paperwork and everything.
So in those 15 years, and I've had 20 of them, there's been some real ups and downs, but one part of your story that I love, and we all have the down periods, even those living in Paris, for those out there listening, you always come back to being joyful. How do you get there? How do you find inspiration? And why has this been so important for you to share?
Well, I think that, no, I don't think I know that when times are hard, it's a practice, learning how to
Mm,
tap into joy, joie de vivre, as I've learned from living here, is so important. It helps you survive. You're having a crummy day, but you're like, oh, I'm going to go sit at a cafe. It's sunny. Like, I'm going to meet a friend. Living here, I've learned that joie de vivre is so important to tap into it. It's been so necessary for me because before I realized that it was something I needed to tap into, I spent a lot of time just sort of dealing with the ebbs and flows of happiness and feelings and success and not success and things going well and not going well. And now, those things are still happening. It's just that I really learned how to tap into joy and just say, like, okay, I can have ups and downs, but you know what? What makes me happy, what brings me joy is sitting on a sunny terrace. I mean, I'm very moody about the weather. So when it's sunny, I'm like, I'm out there and it's not, sitting on a terrace. So just like learning ways to tap into things that bring me joy. And it has become something that is so important to me. And I know for the French, it's so natural and they don't talk about it as much.
right.
And they don't even acknowledge it or realize that it's the way that they live. But for me, I do have to talk about it, and it has become like a big thing because it doesn't come natural to me
Right.
as it does
Right.
to them.
Yeah. I would absolutely agree with that. And there's a story that I'd love you to share that I've heard you talk about. And It really resonates with me because I think about my grandmother's china cabinet. In those days, they called them a china cabinet. I don't know
Yes.
what they call them now, but that's my generation.
Yeah.
And she had these beautiful dishware that I didn't see in her lifetime on this
Yeah.
earth. I didn't see it until she passed away because it sat in there and it was
Yeah.
the good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And this story was something I wrote during COVID because it was a moment that we were all sort of facing mortality and also just, are we ever going to get back to moments of joy and being with the people that we love? So, I wrote this article that was about using the good china. It was an article about my mother had this wedding china that she loved so much, and she kept it in a china cabinet behind glass, and we would walk by every day and we would look at it, we would see it, but we weren't really allowed to touch it, and she never used it. So, she had kept saying that it was for a special occasion. That's what she would always repeat. And so then, it was Easter, and I was like, Easter is a special occasion. So it's like, Mom, we're having friends for lunch. It's a special occasion. The Lord has risen. So then I thought, perfect time to use that china. I said to her, Mom, it's a special occasion. Like you said, like we should bring out that china. We should use it. And she said, okay, you're right. Special occasion. So we set the table, and I loved the ceremony of it, the slow putting out all the plates, setting, was following what I had seen on TV shows about this moment of gathering at the table and setting the table. And we did. And then she looked at it. I looked at it. I was so happy. And then she's like, put it all away. I'm like, wait, what? So we put it all back in the cabinet because she just said, no, 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 it's going to be broken. Your brother's going to break it. It's not, something's going to happen to it. Another special occasion. And, my mother never got to use that wedding china. She never used it. It lived behind the glass in that china cabinet. And I was pretty sad by that. And it just came up to me, the memory of it. I always had the memory of it, but it just sort of came up to me as I was living in this moment of COVID, of not being able to go anywhere, that I don't want to live a life like that where I'm not using things that bring me joy, the objects that bring me joy. So, like, yes, very specific to the story, the objects that bring me joy, but also just, you can think about it for life. I don't want to live a life where I'm waiting for a special occasion. And look, here I was in COVID where I couldn't, like, what if that special occasion never came because COVID was very real? We couldn't see the end. And I said, if I make it through this, I'm not going to wait for special occasions to use the things that bring me joy and to have experiences that bring me joy.
Right. Speaking of bringing joy, and I know that, it's just a difficult period right now. We
Yeah.
can't pretend it's not. How does one just find little bits of joy in their daily when, they're sick of, I mean, there's very few people I know who love their profession so much every day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, whoever's listening that thinks I do, no, there's days when I don't want to go to work either. And how would you tell somebody at home, what are the little things they can do just to infuse joy in their day?
Well, so I wrote a new book called the Joie Journal that is out.
Yes.
And with this in mind, the idea that sometimes if you think about things that bring you joy, you need to be intentional about it. Little things that you can do. Well, first of all, we all have to go to work. We all have to, we have somewhere to be, but maybe it's like taking a little time for yourself in the morning to say, like, okay, I'm not rushing off. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to have this tea. I'm going to read my novel or my book because it sounds crazy, right? To say that you're gonna read your novel for 30 minutes in the morning with your tea when you need to be like brushing your teeth and getting dressed and running off to work. But, depending on if you have to be at work at 10, maybe you're getting up at, if you're an early bird or if you're okay with that, getting up early and having a quiet moment and reading your novel with your tea. Like that's something so simple that can be done. It's having lunch, like not eating while you're in front of your computer and taking a lunch break. It's saying like, okay, there's a holiday on a Friday or a Monday, so I'm going to plan a trip with some friends. Doesn't have to be anything expensive. It could be a road trip. It could be something just accessible. It's just, you know, realizing that that's something that you want
Right.
to have moments of joy and then scheduling it, being very intentional, which is what I try to encourage in this journal is you're scheduling it and then you're looking for it every day. you're documenting it, you're writing down, like, "This is the joy that I found today," and then you start to sort of look for moments of joy and make sure you find it. I have to do it for myself. It's like, even when I'm busy and even if I'm writing about joy, I still have to remind myself, today it's like, I know I have a lot of things going on, I know I have a lot of deadlines, but I'm going to meet a friend for lunch, and
Right.
then we're gonna walk around in the sun, we're gonna have lunch real quick, walk around, and then I'm gonna go back to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it's such a good reminder that we have to steal those moments for ourselves.
It's not
Uh,
even stealing. I want to lose that word. It's not stealing,
okay.
it's our right.
You're absolutely right. That I'll agree with.
Yeah.
And find ways to carve it out how and where you can. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's really starting small. And I love the joy journal because one, I love writing. I want us to talk about that for a moment because writing has been very transformative for me. But also the fact where you're being present and you're really thinking about when are these wonderful things coming into your life? And
Yeah.
I have a practice where I ask for a miracle a day.
I love that.
And every day I get one.
Yeah. I love it.
And that miracle can be I arrive and the metro pulls right in right on time. So it's the little things I come to appreciate and I say, thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
that was good timing. And to me, that's how I find my little bits of joy.
Yeah. But I think, a miracle day, they're all the same. It's
Isn't it?
deciding that in this life, the news cycle is drab, it's hard. Finances can be hard for people. There's a lot of things that are drab and hard. But, looking for a miracle, looking for a joy, whether you schedule it or you open your eyes to look for beauty or joy, it's a similar idea of just looking for something that's going to make you feel alive. It's a positive thing, like looking for joy or a miracle every day, which takes effort. And it's a practice because if you don't actively do it, you're just going to see, I wrote recently about negativity bias. You're just going to see all the negative, which is very easy to do.
Absolutely. And I can tell you some days the miracle is me getting out of bed. I
Yeah.
just don't want to get out of bed some days. But let's talk about writing for a moment because you're such a beautiful writer. And now with 2 books under your belt, share with us a bit about why you write and maybe what writing has done for you, how it has impacted Ajiri.
I have a love-hate relationship with writing.
Oh my God. Yes. Please
You
get
know?
into it.
I kind of, like, hate it,
Yes. Yes.
but, like, need to do it. It's so funny, I'm always like, "Oh, I gotta write about that. Oh, I gotta write about, oh, I wanna write a Substack about that, or, like, a newsletter about that, or I wanna do a post about that," I say this sort of stuff, but then you sit there and you get it all out, and then you're just like, "Ugh, people are gonna think this is dumb," and you start scrutinizing yourself, or, like, sometimes the ideas live in your head and they never get out.
Right.
You actually sitting down and writing. It's just like it's a love-hate relationship, but it's also just something that I guess I've just needed to do since I was young when I was writing in my, middle school diary, of everything that was happening. It's a weird relationship where like you need to express yourself, you need to express your feelings, your observations, making connections between things, but at the same time the hate part comes from the pressure, the how will people judge it? And then it's like, am I monetizing this? There's so many things that bring the hate part. But sure, the love part is if I could just lay on a couch and read books and write and go from my window and I would love that kind of life and that's dreaming.
So I came to writing very late in life. Like most things, I've come very late in life to a lot of stuff. Well, actually, I'm not going to say that. We're going to say I came right on time
Yeah.
when it was meant to be. And writing has just been so therapeutic for me. I had somebody ask me recently, like, what's your writing practice? And I'm like, first of all, let's stop because there is,
Yeah.
everybody has their way.
Of course.
My writing practice is chaotic and I've got different types of writing. I have the morning journaling, which clears the insanity out of my head that I will burn those journals. I hope no one ever comes across them. And then I have the words I want to share with the world, which is why I love so much your book, Joie, and the journal, because they're not just words, they're reminders. They build community. You build such a beautiful community around hope because I think hope and joy are so interconnected. And it's the belief that I will find beauty even in dark moments
Yeah.
and I'll find happiness.
Yeah. There's the writing that you want to share with other people because it's your work. I wish I was a painter. My God, I'd love to paint and have that sort of talent, but I don't. And then there's always the second guessing yourself. But the reality is, like, when I wrote Joie, like, sometimes people tell me all these things about Joie, and when I read it again, and I got this from Ziva's podcast with Gallet Atlas saying that sometimes when you do work, when you're writing, you're sort of like a different person.
Mm,
So the me that is up at 6 or 7 in the morning writing my feelings or my thoughts is probably not the same me that is chatting away at lunch because I'm just like, it's a different headspace and I'm quiet and I'm just really in that. Yeah, it's a different space. So I think I'm sure a lot of writers feel that way, when you reread the things that you've written. It's the me that wrote the article about using the good china was a version of myself that was isolated in the pay basque for 3 months with my kids, but without my friends and all my, daily habits. So I was in a different headspace. So I think that's kind of special about writing people is they're writing at different stages in their life of what they're feeling or what they're going through. And, me writing now as a mother of young children will be very different from me when my kids leave this house and I'm just, me and my dog and my husband, and I don't know what I'll be doing, but it'll be a
yeah.
different woman.
I love this, Ash. I really love this. And I want to hone in on this because we have so much talk that I think can be counterproductive around authenticity. And for me, authenticity means we need to normalize that you are different people at different versions of the day.
Yeah.
You are different people with who you're with. You're different people with the lifespan you lead. When I'm at work in La Cuisine, I am a very, very different person than I am when I'm sitting one on one with a friend. And that doesn't make me anything but normal.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially when we're in a day and age where we see clips of people in a specific way all the time,
Right.
it's very easy for us to draw examples of what we think normal is.
I think it's interesting what you're saying and attaching that to authenticity because, yeah, we're always accusing people of not being authentic or this or that. But it's true. When you get online and you're sharing something, maybe that is a different version of you being yourself
Yes.
versus, especially people who are a little bit of an introvert and a little bit of ambivert,
Yes.
introverted and extroverted. Or if they're introverted, but then they also know that they have to function in the world and connect with people. So it doesn't mean that they're being fake. It's just they're different versions of your authentic self.
Absolutely. I just feel so strong about that because that's the story I live. And
Yeah.
that's the story so many of my friends live. If I see some of my friends in the professional capacity, I might be surprised
Mm,
about how they present, about how they speak. It's still them.
yeah.
And it's okay, I think. And it's beautiful. I always like to say we all have many petals to our flower.
Yes.
Speaking of flowers, I like to talk about the Jardin secret, which is this little plot of land that you have in your heart and maybe in your mind of the dreams that are not yet born, the ones that you're coveting and holding on to that you'd like to see for yourself. Not winning the lottery, I'm not going to put that in there. But I think your garden changes every season
Yes.
and it changes every year. Is there anything in your garden that you would share?
This is a very interesting question, and it's such a wonderful, like, journaling question for people to, like, write down and think about. I have to say, where I am in my life after making a very hard decision to close my online store and focus on other things, I am just really where I need to be right now. So my garden is really tending to who I am right now. My secret garden, there's nothing secret about it other than like tending to my garden, like taking care of myself, taking care of the dreams and the things that I'm doing right now. And then I think through doing that, taking care of myself and things that I'm doing right now, there's headspace for me to
Right.
dream and be like, I might expose myself to something I didn't even know that I was interested in. And then I'm going to be like, oh, wait, you know what? I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then I'll nurture that quietly and let that come to life as it should. But my jardin is taking good care of myself.
I love that, Ash. And that's so important. That's such a part of the process. And I'll remind everyone taking care of yourself means making sure you're planted in the right soil.
Yes,
And that means who you surround yourself with,
100%.
what you expose yourself to. And it means pruning sometimes and
Yes.
not letting, not letting the garden get
Oh,
wild.
pruning is very necessary, but no,
Yeah.
I think I love this metaphor that you use because, yeah, this is where I am. I'm in a place where I'm writing a book, I'm working on my retreats, I'm doing my sourcing, I'm just focusing on those things. And also, I've had this tendency since I was a young girl and was having a hard time, is to always think about the station, like what's next. And so I would feel
Mm,
my energy because I wasn't happy where I was as a young girl. It'll be better when, it'll be better when. And that's
right.
just my tendency. And I have fought against it, and I've done a really good job fighting against it in the last, 10, 15 years of my life. So I have to fight against projecting something and not taking care of where I am in the present. It's really
I
important.
love that. I love that. And again, just a reminder for everyone out there how beautiful it is and what a beautiful message for Ajri to share with us about just step back and enjoy your garden for a moment.
Mhm.
You don't always have to plan and dig and,
Yeah.
you know, enjoy the beauty of what you have. Leave space to dream, leave space for magic, and enjoy walking around in your beautiful garden.
Love that. Love it.
So I'm going to wrap up. I could sit with you for hours, Aj, and I'd rather do this over a glass of wine, but we're
Mhm.
recording early in the day here. But I will make sure everybody out there gets your information. And I find you personally so, so inspirational, Aj. And you're one of those people. I'm always telling anybody that will listen to me, we need to be very cautious about what we consume.
Yes.
And there's few people that I really love their content because it's sharing. It's not showing, it's sharing. And I think that's a really wonderful thing you do. And so I find it very inspiring and motivational.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone that you love to watch that you think you'd love to shine light on that's inspiring and motivational to you? Any role models, people you know, or maybe people you don't know, but you like what you see of them?
Oh, there's so many accounts I follow. I love watching Hill House Vintage,
Okay.
Paula Sutton.
Okay.
She is a mom. She's in her 50s and has 3 kids, and she, made this change in her 50s about deciding to, live in the countryside and then became an influencer and an author. I love watching her because she's just living her life, and it's really sweet. She makes a lot of content, so there's a lot of energy that she probably has to put towards making that content, but it's just so I just, like, wanna be her friend, like, she's so
Oh,
sweet. So I
okay.
really enjoy her account a lot. I've never met her in person, but I love the idea that you just have no idea what's around the corner for your life. When she left the city and moved to the country, she never imagined that this is what she'd be doing. She thought she'd be reading books and figuring out some sort of retirement plan, and now here she is, reconnecting with her kids in a whole 'nother way. I think that's sweet if you look at it from that perspective, not just, she's creating content or doing all these partnership. I'm sure she's enjoying reconnecting with her kids and just having this attention on her after all the work that she's done. I find her very sweet and genuine and just kind. I'd
I
love
love,
to sit with her one day.
goodness knows we could all use more kindness
Yes,
these days.
absolutely.
Oh, Ash, so thank you for being here. I will make sure that we have all of your information in the show notes. And if you've not read Ashri's book, one is just beautiful eye candy. So pick it up just to have it on your coffee table, but take time to go through the messages. And again, she's got this beautiful new journal out, which is a great accompaniment. And so you know my thoughts on journaling. So I love that she has this beautiful resource out there. And
Thank
Ash, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. I'm so thrilled to have you here. And I can't wait for everybody to hear this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love sitting with you at a cafe. I love hanging out. So this was nice to just sit here and talk.
Excellent. Before we go any further, if what I've been talking about today resonates with you, I want you to know there's a space for you that I've created. Several times a year, I gather a small group of women in Paris for what I call les saisons, the seasons. These are my retreats. They are very tiny, very intimate. Each one is designed around the time of year. So not just the season we're in physically, but hopefully the season we're in our internal seasons. And it's just a wonderful time to return to ourselves. In spring, we talk about planting. In September, it's the rentrée season, which is a beautiful time in Paris. And in the fall, it's the harvest, la vendange, because how can we not talk about wine and all those wonderful messages? So these are not spa weekends, they're not shopping, they're not tourist trips. These are 3 days in one of the most transformative cities in the world, designed to help you pause and realign and start to really think and step into what's next for you. And the women who come, they're curious, they're brave, they're open-hearted, they're just phenomenal. They're hopeful, they're community-based. And if that sounds like you, I'd love to have you join. So take a look at my website. I'm constantly updating different dates for Les Saisons retreats, and I'd love to have you here. You can find them all at janebertch.com/retreats. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Generate Her. If something sparked your curiosity or took root in your imagination or helped you to see possibilities just a tad bit clearly, I'd love to hear about it. Don't forget you can always connect with me via my website, janebertch.com, or on Instagram. My handle is my name, @Jane Bertch. And if you'd like to go deeper, don't forget to check out my newsletter, Prompts from Paris, my retreats here in the city, journal prompts, and more that you can find on my website. Until the next time, may you keep tending your jardin, listening to your inner courage, and shining brightly right where you are. À très bientôt, mes amis.